We're live. It's Wednesday. Hope you're having a great day today. If you're watching, definitely check in on the chat. Let me know. Say hi. Let me know what you're thankful for today. So as always, I'll start. I am thankful that we are having our AC unit replaced today. It's been a little bit, and so just sort of glad that the day is finally here and we're able to get that done, and thankful for just how God's providing for us. And so on the note, I'm just thankful for air conditioning too. We haven't needed a lot lately, which is also good. But anyway, so let me know what you are thankful for today, right? Okay, so we can share those and rejoice in that together. So leave a note in the chat and let me know. All right, quarter teen games. So last time question was, what grade was I in when I gave my life to Christ? Had several answers. Thanks for everybody jumping in with that. The answer was first grade. So younger than what most thought. And now I'm losing my spot. The closest was Tim. Tim guessed fourth grade. And so he gets today's quarter. Today's question will be sort of same kind of thing, but for Julie, she doesn't remember for sure which grade, but she remembers what age. So what age was Miss Julie when she gave her life to Christ? So that's your question for today. How old was Julie when she became a Christian? So let's see. I see that Luke's checked in. He's thankful for Star Wars and heat. So I guess that's along the same lines as the air conditioning. We'll take that. So thankful for that. Let's see if anybody else, not yet. So others that are watching, check in. Let me know what you are thankful for today, and let me know your guesses for quarter teen games for how old Julie was. So, all right. So we're under our devotion, Psalm chapter 1 we're continuing with, and we're going to be on verse 4 today. So I see Tim checked in. Hi, Tim. If you are just checking in, let us know what you're thankful for. And quarter teen game question today is, how old was Miss Julie when she gave her life to Christ? So everybody check in with those. All right, so Psalm chapter 1, verse 4 says, the wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives away.
Yeah, and if it was,
so not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind drives away. So I apologize that there's a little bit of interference in and out here. We got folks working at the house, but that's the fun of live video. Anyway, so all right, so let's talk about Psalm chapter 4 and this whole deal with the chaff. Okay, so this is obviously a reference to kind of agriculture and farming that some of us probably are not familiar with. So this process that they would have had to do if they're harvesting their grain, okay, something like wheat or barley or something like that, okay. So they harvest that. They start by when it's ripe and it's ready, it's harvest season. They'll cut that stuff down, okay, and then they'll sort of part of what they have to do is separate it. They take the head of it and they'll separate the kernel, the actual edible, useful part, okay, from what's called the chaff, which is basically a protective layer around that. And so usually some sort of pounding or grinding or something to sort of separate those things. And then, so that's called threshing, to separate those things, right? But then you've still got this big old pile or basket or whatever with both the kernels and the chaff in it. And so what they'll do, sometimes you'd see maybe a big blanket that sort of just lifts everything up in the air. Some would have kind of this basket that they could hold in front of them. And I don't know if you ever watched like a cooking show where they will, like they'll flip the veggies or stuff in the pan and just like, I don't know how they do it, not flip everything out. But you kind of do that with the seeds or the kernels and everything in this basket. And what happens is the kernels are heavier, and so they'll come back down. The chaff is very, very light and sort of just floats up into the air, and the wind blows it away, and all that's left is what's useful for them. So they're left with the kernel that they actually want, and the air currents just sort of take the chaff away. So that's the process that they would have to go through whenever they're harvesting their crops. And so the psalmist is sort of using that as an analogy to teach us something about the righteous and the wicked. Okay, so but what's the point of it? What's he really trying to teach us? And again, I want to draw us to the fact that there's a contrast going on here. We saw it in what's described in verse 1 versus what we see in verse 2. We see it again here. There's a contrast between verse 3 and verse 4. So again, we're talking about this blessed man, right? This blessed person that is favored by God. God is on their side, and they're choosing to follow God and enjoying his blessings. Okay, so we've got that contrast with, we get to verse 4, and we're talking now about the wicked. Okay, so what's the difference, right? Okay, so verse 3 tells us about the blessed man, the righteous man, where he's bearing, this tree is bearing fruit in its season. Its leaf does not wither, and everything he does prospers. Okay, this is this description of this abundant life that God has for us and the blessings that are coming from God as he's living the right way. The wicked are like chaff that the wind blows away. So what's the point of that? Okay, so if this tree or fruit from verse 3 describing the righteous, it's benefiting others, right? We talked about that with the fruit. That tree is thriving, it has life, and it gives life, okay? Those are things that are also descriptive of us when we're following Christ. We are thriving, we are benefiting and blessing others, we have life, and we're giving life. We're sharing the life that God has with others in the way that we live. The wicked are the opposite of that. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. That chaff is essentially worthless. It's not good for anything. They're not eating it. They're not consuming it. It's worthless. It has no value, and it doesn't benefit others. And so there's your contrast, where this life where we're following God, that's enjoying the blessings that God gives us, is described as a life of thriving, of full of life, of sharing life, the abundant life that Jesus talked about in John chapter 10. Whereas when we're not following God, when we're choosing to rebel against him and choosing to go our own way instead of his way, we are described as the wicked, and we are described as like chaff and worthless and ultimately blown away and not lasting. And so, we see that contrast, and what we'll see as we move into verses 5 and 6 is what's the end result of that in our lives. And there's really only two paths set before us: the righteous path where we receive the blessings of God, or the wicked path where we're worthless and blown away and amount to nothing. So choose wisely. We want to be like the blessed man. So to do that, remembering all that we've read in this chapter to this point, we're trying to stay connected with God through his word. We're trying to stay connected with God through prayer. And by being connected with other believers and limiting our connection and not investing ourselves fully with non-believers so that we're around those that are naturally leading us closer to Christ. We're choosing to obey. We're choosing to do what's right. And as we're doing that, we're able to enjoy this abundant life of blessing that God has for us. So do that when we follow him and we obey him. You'll be thriving and you'll be blessing others. And that's really what the point of all this is about, is we're doing this for him and we're doing it to bless others. So that's it for today. So we'll continue with verse 5 on Friday, and we'll finish up the book of James tonight. So for those in our youth group, don't forget Zoom meeting tonight at 6:30. New link was sent out today. If you didn't get that, let me know. I think I sent it to everybody, but just in case, just let me know if you're missing that. But we'll be on at 6:30. So we'll see you guys then. Love you, and see you tonight.